What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a movie called They Live in the Gray that is a Shudder original. Let's get into it. So first off, I gotta say, this review is probably gonna upset some people, and I don't really give a shit. Because I actually quite enjoyed this movie, and I'm seeing some weird kind of reviews that some are good and some are not. But there's some things in this movie that I went into kind of with I'm not really in the mood for this. In fact, when I saw the trailer, I wasn't really all that interested in seeing this movie, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna give it my all, and see what I thought. Especially seeing that this movie is a 2-hour movie. It is kind of, it's a big ask for a lot of viewers. So what is They Live in the Gray? Well, it is a supernatural drama film that is about a woman named Claire who works in child protective services. She gets a call about a child abuse case and discovers that the family is actually being tormented by a supernatural entity. Yes, I feel like we've been here or seen something similar to this, but it is a little different. This is a movie that is directed by the Vang brothers, who are the ones that are responsible for Bedeviled. I never did get to see that movie. But yes, this is Abel and Burley Vang's collaborative efforts on their next film, and I honestly think they did a good job here. We get some performances by Michelle Curiak from The Invitation. She was also in Hollywood, the TV series, and many others. She plays, of course, Claire, the main star of this movie, and boy, does she perform. We also get Ken Kirby, who plays her husband. He was in Dynasty and Good Trouble TV series. And we also have Madeline Grace, who plays the girl abuse case, and she was one of the stars in Don't Breathe 2 as the girl in the movie. We also have Audrey Moore, who plays the mother of that child, and she was in shows like Better Call Saul as well as Godless. So the cast there's a lot more, but the main star of this film, I would have to say, is definitely Michelle Crusiak. She has a very strong performance in here. I'm seeing some mixed things being said about some of the acting in this movie, and perhaps maybe that's because they might be standing in a very large shadow of Michelle, because I personally think she went to some dark places to deliver this movie, and it is a really good performance. Now, this is a movie that is going to be living and breathing and really submerging the viewer in some pretty dark, grieving places. And like I said, it's Michelle's performance I really enjoyed. There are some moments that genuinely make me tear up because of how strong it was, in my personal opinion. So this movie is a supernatural movie, and we've seen so many, and one of the things I really like about this movie is that the way that they did the ghosts. There is no CGI in this, well, that I know of, that's used in obscene amounts, where they usually like mystify the ghost or something like that. Personally, just have the ghost in the room, whatever it is. The way they handle supernatural in this is much more realistic, in my opinion. You soon find out, and I don't think this is spoilery at all, but you soon find out that Michelle is seeing many supernatural things, and you find out how that is involved in the story and why she's so connected to this single abuse case. Like I said, they handle this supernatural in some pretty dark and sometimes very disturbing ways. There's a couple of new things that they do in this movie that I thought was fantastic. I even enjoyed the end of this movie. I thought that it was not only a good ending, but it also kind of continues on and makes you kind of wonder what's next. So for fans of this movie, you might even want to see a sequel, although I don't know if it would be as powerful as this one. I will say, going into the movie, I was really kind of like, oh boy, this is going to be a slow one. And it definitely is. It is a slower, more darker space that you're living in while you see this Claire character grieving over some really bad issues that she's had with people that she loves. I won't say who or what. You really just are pushed underwater into this feeling. And it is pretty heavy, so it's going to take a little while to sort of unfold, and it might be frustrating for some viewers. But for me, it was kind of a nice surprise because they included what I like to call little snack treats along the path of this story. When I say snack treats, I mean these moments of like sharp, attention-grabbing things. This is not a jump scare movie, but there is some things in this movie that are kind of gross and dark and bloody, and you will be like, ooh, what the fuck? And by the end, hopefully you'll be very happy because I thought they did a great job. And it's really pretty graphic in some regards. They put Claire through the ringer on this one. Some of the graphic parts in this movie I thought were pretty entertaining, and I think it'll add to the movie. It doesn't shy away from it. It's not just the story and this grieving, sad thing. It has some of these nuggets in there that I think actually complement the movie well, and it's not overdone, so it feels hokey, in my opinion. The story writing, I think, is actually pretty good at some very nuanced subject matter, and I think that the filmmaking, as far as the camera work and lighting and everything like that, all really good. These are above average, well above average. Some of the performances outside of Michelle's is a little shaky at times, specifically at the end of the movie, so I can kind of understand where people are coming with that. I also feel like the child actor, who is actually very good, if you've seen Don't Breathe, she's very competent. She's very good at acting. She's strong. I feel like there could have been some more moments in the film that kind of pushed her acting, because I feel like she's more than capable, and I don't think we really got that in here. But again, we're talking about Michelle Krusik, who does just a phenomenal performance here. So yeah, there is some good and there is some bad, but the snack treats that you get along the way of these ghostly supernatural events are enough to keep you tied along to stay for the 2 hour and however many minutes movie. So if you are worried about that, there are going to be a decent amount of moments in there that will keep you strung along a little bit. They're not as many as I would have preferred to see in some of these movies, so it does have that going against it. But it's really hard for me to score. There are some good and there is some bad, and there is some, understanding that this is probably not the most expensive budget that you've seen for a supernatural film. And how many supernatural films have you seen that could just go desperately wrong and just not pull it off? I personally think this is in the better half of supernatural films. It is very serious, and it is a very dark tone, and it puts you in some places that are not very happy or entertaining. Suffering and grieving is not a wonderful place to be, but how it's performed, how well it's shot, and the story that drove me to the end in the ending itself actually, I think, make this a pretty damn good film that I would highly recommend others to see. I think this movie deserves a minimum of a 7.5, if not an 8. I'm going to give it an 8 because I just feel like I really enjoyed where this was. It was a surprise to me. If you give it the time, it will provide some of the goods for you. If you're automatically turned off within the first 20 minutes and you don't give it the rest of the film, you're ruining it for yourself personally. But if you really just kind of sit back and think about how a person, this Claire character, would feel in these certain situations and just how defeated a person is, it is kind of a story about growth. And I think that's actually more than just your regular supernatural film. So this is a thoughtful film. This is a well thought out film that I think deserves some attention. Is it going to be for everybody? Apparently not. Some people calling it mediocre. I mean, I don't know. That's their taste. They're right to say whatever they want, but I personally think that they're not finding the good bits in here that are, it's not perfect, but I think they did a really good job, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing more of the Vangs and maybe even checking out Bedeviled. And The Invitation was always one of my favorite movies, and seeing Michelle in this again kind of maybe makes me a little biased, but I think this is one of her best performances, and I think that she's got the chops to do a hell of a lot more. So congratulations to everybody on this film. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will too. Give it a chance. I think you'll see how authentic some of this is. Yes, not all the performances are 110%, but give it a chance. I think the story will win you over. If not, then, hey, I gave you all the information I could and what I find interesting, so hopefully that'll help you in determining whether or not you watch Shudder. But if you have the subscription, watch it anyway. check it out, see if you like it. If you don't, hey, we all have hundreds of movies out there that we can see. I was not too thrilled about going to see a depressive, very serious, slow movie, but I ended up actually quite enjoying it. So thank you guys so much for coming by, and as always, long live the void.